Is this your place? No. No, I live with my mom. Oh. Yeah. You hungry? Hey, Ma! Can we get some meatloaf? Chaz, I think I'm okay. I had a bite right before I came over. Thank you. You sure? How's my protege? Jeremy. Yeah. J-Bone. J-Bone is, believe it or not, he's getting married. What? What an idiot. Oh, what a loser. Good. More for me and you.
Hello, everyone. This is a scene from Wedding Crashers. Thanks so much for joining me on Cinema Chat. I am David Heath, and I just wanted to talk to you today about the 2005 movie Wedding Crashers, starring Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn. And Wedding Crashers is a comedy about two guys that do exactly what the title suggests. They enjoy getting free food and drinks while pretending like they belong. They make up different stories for each wedding they crash. They seem to be able to not just blend in, but be very popular figures wherever they go to each wedding. Dancing with the ladies, young and old, telling stories are two things these guys seem to be able to pull off, even with people that they don't know. And they always make up some corny story, some corny name and corny story as to who they are. The movie again stars Owen Wilson as John Beckwith. Owen Wilson has a long history of comedy prior to being in this movie. Vince Vaughn stars as Jeremy Gray, who had also a pretty good comedy resume, as well as some drama. Christopher Walken, veteran actor, plays Secretary Cleary. He's the Secretary of State. That is for the United States. Rachel McAdams is the love interest of John, and brings some interesting moments because John's real name is John, but he tells Claire his name is John Ryan, but his real name is John Beckwith. Ela Fisher plays Claire's sister, and her name is Gloria. Jane Seymour plays their mother, and the secretary's wife, Kathleen. And is she a feisty one? It also stars a much younger Bradley Cooper. Bradley Cooper that we barely knew at that time. And he plays Sack, Claire's lovely boyfriend. And I am being sarcastic when I say lovely. Will Ferrell has an uncredited role, and he is the voice you just heard. But it plays basically a cameo role, but his role is still important in the movie. John and Jeremy have been crashing weddings for years. We don't really know how long, but they work together at a firm that handles divorce mediation. And Jeremy and John, they crash weddings all the time. They've been crashing. And according to the beginning of the movie, Jeremy said that he lined up 17 weddings for one summer. And so that's quite busy. In any case, they finally have a situation where they have a difficult time figuring things out. And maybe their luck is running out or whatever, but Jeremy can't get away from the instantly clingy Gloria, again played by Ela Fisher. Ela Fisher said that she learned how to play that role by watching The Hand That Rocks the Cradle and Fatal Attraction, and she tried to make her role, mold her role into what those characters how those characters behaved. and she is a handful for Jeremy. Meanwhile, John is doing his level best to impress Claire, played by Rachel McAdams, who already has a boyfriend, and her boyfriend is rich and very powerful and has some physical tools in the sense that he knows how to beat people up. There is a great scene in the movie where they're playing football, touch football, but some reason Sack feels the need to tackle Jeremy, and he does it twice and knocks the wind out of him twice, and he seems to really enjoy it. And of course, Secretary Clary's answer to why that's happening is he says, "Nature versus nurture. Nature always wins." But it's touch football, and Jeremy can't understand why the guy has to behave like a maniac. But the secretary, Claire, and Gloria's father is as he states in the movie, a very powerful man. And so Jeremy's a little scared because his baby girl is has attracted to Jeremy, and Jeremy just finds every way in the world he wants to escape, but he won't do it because John begs him not to. And even though they're not actually brothers like they claim to be, they still behave that way with each other. And one scene in there, they even say that they love each other. But the guys end up getting invited to the home of the secretary. They spend some time there. John does his best to woo Claire away from her rude boyfriend, and soon to become fiance in the movie. But John has a very tough time doing this. They use tricks like putting Visine in his drink, and so he'll get sick. And that way, John maybe will have a chance to get some moments with Claire without Sack being around. John seems to have fallen for Claire from the moment he sees her, and the first time Claire walks appears on the screen, John looks at her in awe, and he's having a difficult time dealing with his role as a crasher, and he just wants her to fall in love with him. Soon, John gains Claire's trust, and he after several conversations, they start to really find each other a little bit, and then they even have a brief kissing scene on the beach. But quickly, it's found out by Claire that John and Jeremy are actually just a couple of crashers, and Claire instantly believes that she's been fooled. In fact, she has only been half fooled. John was obviously a crasher, and that was his intent to go to the wedding, but he had good intent beyond that, and he wanted desperately for Claire to fall for him. But John goes into a little bit of a funk, and it gets much worse when Jeremy comes to visit him. Jeremy said that he's engaged and going to marry Gloria. And remember, Gloria is the sister of Claire, who John is desperately in love with. And Vince Vaughn, of course, plays Jeremy and is trying desperately to seem innocent and doesn't want to get John upset, but he has to tell him and says, "I want you to be my best man, and you need to be at that wedding." John proceeds to kick him out and goes further into a funk. Well, eventually, John, of course, Owen Wilson's character, goes to meet the legendary Chaz Reinhold. Chaz is the writer of the book, so to speak, of Wedding Crashing. John had never met Chaz. He always kind of thought he was just some sort of a weirdo, which of course we indeed find out he was or is. But John walks in and sees the situation with Chaz living with his mom, but yet he has this short conversation with Chaz, and he sees this girl walk down the stairs from his bedroom, from Chaz's bedroom, and then just starts to kiss Will Ferrell, Chaz Reinhold, and then what you see from there is just pure, awe from John. Owen Wilson appears like he's completely not understanding what's happening here, and Chaz goes on to say that even though he's living with his mother and really appears to be living like a child, he somehow seems to attract beautiful women. Well, Chaz tells John the best way to pick up girls nowadays is funerals, of all things. John said, "Where'd you find that girl?" And he said, "Well, I was driving by the cemetery, so I stopped over." And he said, "Funerals seem to be the best way to pick up women." Unbelievable. John says, "I don't think I'm ready for that." And and then it goes on from there, and I'm not going to spoil the finish, but Wedding Crashers was released in July of 2015. I'm sorry, July of 2005. It was a smash hit. It made $285 million while garnering good reviews from most of the critics. It only took David Dobkin, the director, only 52 days to shoot the film. It was primarily shot in coastal Maryland. They really considered a sequel. The producers considered a sequel in advance, but it never happened. The sequel was to feature Daniel Craig as the ultimate wedding crasher, but it never transpired. Some interesting facts about the movie Wedding Crashers. One is Congress was not happy about the movie. There is a scene early on in the movie where Vince Vaughn shows two purple hearts that he had stumbled across somehow, and he said, "Purple hearts, and now we won't have to pay for a drink all night." So Congress wasn't very happy about that, and since then there's been a law about stolen valor. So that's definitely a no-no nowadays. Not just the rude, but it's also highly illegal now. But nonetheless, it did have a funny tone to it. There was also a wedding planner on the set at all times, and due to the nature of the movie, obviously being about weddings, they wanted it to look like a legitimate setup and make it look authentic. But so there was always a wedding crasher on site. And now, one of the things about the movie is what happened after the movie to the movie stars. The two main stars in particular. Owen Wilson had a pretty long list of comedic comedy movies and he had made, and he had been in several comedic roles. And after Wedding Crashers, he had some success in the three Cars movies that were animated as a voice actor, and also later had some good secondary roles and made a couple of minor movies that were that got some critical acclaim. But personal problems really hit Owen Wilson hard, particularly in 2007 when he attempted suicide. And Vince Vaughn had some comedy success with Old School and Dodgeball, and also had some good bits as a trash-talking newsman and anchorman, as well as a villain in Starsky and Hutch, and which also starred Owen Wilson. Vince Vaughn played the big motor mouth in Wedding Crashers. Very fast talking. Unfortunately, even though he does that so well, that type of role, he's never had really consistent success after Wedding Crashers. Wilson and Vaughn appeared together once more in The Internship, but that didn't quite have the same magic that was found earlier in Wedding Crashers. I think the main thing about Wedding Crashers is that the movie had good chemistry amongst the actors. And once again, I do think that it's important when a director can have a veteran actor like Christopher Walken to kind of be some sort of a glue to maintain order, and someone that the others can look up to. And obviously Christopher Walken has a long resume, but Wedding Crashers is a movie that is pretty much a straight comedy with moments of just hilarity, but at the same time it maintains a tone during the second half of the film that shows a little bit of heart, and shows that maybe people they may be immature at one point. Maybe they'll have a chance to grow up, so to speak. And even though the main characters are two guys that really are scoundrels, they lie about everything to get the ladies. But ultimately, I think they figured out that really isn't quite what you need to be doing. Anyway, that's my podcast about Wedding Crashers. This is a podcast number 4, and I finally broke off of the pattern of disaster films. So we had Silver Streak, a runaway train, and we had Airplane, a runaway plane, and then we had a sinking ship in Titanic. We're now done with Wedding Crashers, and I still have some good ideas for future podcasts. And it would really be nice to see some comments in the comment section on my Facebook page, Cinema Chat. If you have any good ideas, I'm willing to listen. Anyway, I am David Heath, and I have had so much fun talking about Wedding Crashers, and I hope you enjoyed it as well.